Most people spend their lives paying attention to what enters their bodies. They worry about nutrition, they worry about hydration, they worry about exercise, they worry about sleep. And while all of these things matter, very few people ever stop to ask a far more important question. What is entering your mind? Not occasionally, not once in a while, every single day. Because there is something shaping your reality right now. Something so constant, so ordinary, and so invisible that most people never notice its influence. And yet it may be the single greatest force directing the course of your life. It is not what you eat. It is not what you drink. It is not even the air you breathe. It is what you allow into your consciousness. Every image you consume, every conversation you absorb, every headline you read, every fear you entertain, every idea you repeat, every emotion you revisit, all of it leaves a trace, and those traces become patterns. The patterns become beliefs, the beliefs become identity, and identity becomes destiny. This is where most people misunderstand themselves. They believe their thoughts belong to them. They believe their desires are their own. They believe their fears emerge naturally. But what if much of what you call yourself was quietly built through years of unconscious exposure? What if the person you have become is not merely the result of your decisions, but the result of everything that has been feeding your consciousness since the day you were born? Think about a child. A child enters the world without a worldview, without political beliefs, without ideas about success or failure, without deeply rooted fears, and without a fixed identity. Then the process begins. The child observes, listens, absorbs, imitates, and gradually a model of reality starts to form. Not because the child consciously chooses it, but because the mind is constantly being shaped by impressions. Words become assumptions. Assumptions become beliefs. Beliefs become reality. And after enough repetition, the conditioning becomes invisible. The person forgets where the belief came from. They only experience its effects. This is why so many people spend years trying to change their lives without ever changing the source code of their perception. They try to change outcomes, they try to change habits, they try to change circumstances, yet they continue feeding the same mental environment that created those outcomes in the first place. It is like trying to grow a different forest while planting the same seeds every day. And in today's world, the process has become more powerful than ever. Never in human history have so many forces competed for our attention. Every platform, every notification, every algorithm, every advertisement, every screen, fighting for a place inside your mind. Not because your attention is valuable, but because your attention is creative. Whatever captures it repeatedly begins to shape reality from the inside out. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes familiar. What becomes familiar begins to feel true. What feels true becomes a belief, and beliefs quietly determine the direction of your life. Most forms of influence do not arrive as commands. They arrive as repetition. They arrive as normality. They arrive as entertainment. They arrive as culture. They arrive as habits so ordinary that they escape your awareness completely, and that is precisely why they are powerful. The deepest forms of programming rarely feel like programming. They feel like you. The most dangerous influences are not the ones that announce themselves. They are the ones that become invisible, the ones that enter your life so gradually that you stop questioning them. Most people can remember moments that changed their lives. A conversation, a relationship, a loss, a success. But what truly shapes a human being is rarely a single dramatic event. It is repetition. The same message repeated thousands of times. The same fear revisited over and over. The same images consumed every day. The same assumptions reinforced year after year. A river does not carve a canyon through force. It carves it through persistence. The human mind works much the same way. Every impression leaves a mark. Most are small, almost invisible. But over time, those impressions begin to organize themselves into patterns, and patterns become the architecture of perception. This is why two people can experience the same reality and see entirely different worlds. One sees opportunity, another sees danger. One sees possibility, another sees limitation. One sees meaning, another sees chaos. The world itself has not changed. The filter through which it is perceived has, and those filters are not created overnight. They are built through years of accumulated impressions, years of stories, years of emotional experiences, years of unconscious programming. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes the lens through which you interpret reality, and eventually, that lens becomes so familiar that you mistake it for truth. This is where the greatest illusion begins. Most people believe they are observing reality. In reality, they are observing their conditioning. They are not seeing the world as it is. They are seeing the world through the impressions that shaped them. And because those impressions were accumulated gradually, they rarely question them. A belief repeated often enough becomes invisible. A fear carried long enough feels natural. A limitation reinforced for years starts to feel like identity. The conditioning disappears. Only the behavior remains. This is why self-awareness is so rare. Most people are aware of their thoughts. Very few are aware of what created those thoughts. Most people are aware of their emotions. Very few are aware of the impressions feeding those emotions every day. And yet this may be one of the most important discoveries a human being can make. Your consciousness is not a passive container. It is fertile ground. Everything that enters it becomes a seed. Every image, every word, every conversation, every environment, every emotional state, every piece of information, every story you tell yourself. The question is not whether seeds are being planted. The question is which seeds are growing. Because eventually, whatever is nourished survives. Whatever is repeated strengthens. Whatever is strengthened begins to shape your reality. This is why attention is one of the most valuable forces in existence. Not because it determines what you see, because it determines what grows. Whatever receives your attention receives your life force. And whatever repeatedly receives your life force becomes part of you. Think about how many people today live inside environments designed to capture attention. Infinite scrolling, constant notifications, endless stimulation. A continuous stream of information entering the mind from the moment they wake up until the moment they fall asleep. Never before in human history has consciousness been exposed to so many impressions. And perhaps never before has it been so difficult to hear one's own inner voice, because silence has become rare. Reflection has become rare. Stillness has become rare. People are surrounded by information, yet starving for wisdom. Connected to everything, yet disconnected from themselves. The tragedy is not that people are consuming too much. The tragedy is that most people never stop to ask what is consuming them. What occupies your attention every day? What repeatedly enters your mind? What emotional states dominate your inner world? What stories are shaping your perception of reality? What voices are influencing your decisions? Because sooner or later, whatever occupies your consciousness begins to occupy your life. And this leads to a deeper question. If someone could observe every image you consume, every conversation you engage with, every piece of content you absorb, every thought you repeat, every emotion you feed, would they be able to predict the person you are becoming? The answer is probably yes. Because your future is not being built only by your goals, it is being built by your inputs, your habits of attention, your mental environment, your invisible diet of impressions. Most people spend years trying to change their lives from the outside, but transformation begins much deeper than behavior. It begins at the level of perception, at the level of awareness, at the level of what is allowed to enter consciousness. This is where true self-mastery begins. Not in controlling the world, but in becoming conscious of what is shaping the world within you. Because the moment you become aware of the impressions feeding your mind, something extraordinary happens. You stop living by default. You stop reacting unconsciously. You stop inheriting beliefs without examination. You stop surrendering your attention to every external force competing for it. And for the first time, you begin to participate consciously in the creation of your own reality. That is the hidden power of awareness. That is the forgotten responsibility of attention, and that may be one of the most important truths you will ever discover. You become what you repeatedly allow into your consciousness, not overnight, not all at once, but day after day, thought after thought, impression after impression, until one day, the life you are living becomes a reflection of everything you have been feeding your mind. So the question is not simply, what are you consuming? The deeper question is, what is consuming you? If this message resonated with something deep inside you, subscribe to Inner Multiverse, because this channel is not about motivation, it is about awareness. It is about self-mastery. It is about reclaiming your attention, your consciousness, and your power in a world constantly competing for them. And perhaps the most important realization is this. Your life is shaped far less by what you desire, and far more by what you repeatedly allow into your mind. The most powerful thing shaping your life is not what enters your body, it is what enters your consciousness.